Now, we've got a bit of esports news coming up next for you, and in the form of Guild Esports as well, which, if you don't know, is actually co-owned by David Beckham. Now, records of £8.75 million loss for 2022, but they are remaining optimistic for 2023 as well. So the overall loss is marginally smaller than in 2021, when Guild reported a loss of £8.82 million. Now, the overall annual revenue also increased to £4.5 million compared to 2021. Now, this is mainly due to, the esports world, it's so up and down, and a lot of companies have had to lay people off, and there's a lot of esports, different realms and things like that have had to cut things in sponsorships, and that is a big income for them, is sponsorships within esports, and that can determine whether a company can keep going or not, and that's quite scary in a way. But it's not all lost for Guild, because the company doubled down on partnerships, taking one with Sky UK, renewing a partnership with Samsung, and also Coca-Cola, among a few more as well. So there's still some things that can rise. I mean, it is always going to be a rocky journey, but unfortunately, that is the world of esports, and it's a scary world. But it's just the way it kind of goes down. But we're going to have a little delve into that a little bit more now. We've actually got an esports journalist on the show with me, and we've got Billy Studholme on the show. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, not too bad. Thank you so much for joining us to have a chat about this. I mean, the losses that Guild are kind of reporting, how significant are they for the company, do you think?
Yeah, they're very significant. I think Guild in total, since Guild was founded, essentially, I think they've raised £26 million, and so this year they lost 8.75 million. Before that, it was 8.82.
Yeah.
Before that, maybe 3 or 4 mil. So it's definitely significant, and I think the important thing, or a couple of important points. One is if you check the share price currently. It's down like 85% since the IPO. I think they debuted at like 8 pence per share, and now it's like 1.2 or something.
Oh, wow.
Like that. Really not good at all. And I think they've only got about £1.6 million of cash left on the balance sheet.
Oh, wow.
So again, they say they're optimistic going into 2023, but they would say that they're a public company. They're always going to try and keep up that facade. Yeah, exactly. You do have to as a public company, and I don't blame them for that. Like, they have to say all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, with all those losses, to be fair to them, they've cut a lot of costs. So the workforce is much reduced from what it was, say, a year ago. They've released a lot of content creators. Which, to be fair, but that hamstrings their goals of trying to become like one of the top. I think they say they want to be one of the top 3 orgs in Europe. And if you've not got any creators and you don't have that many successful teams, you're going to struggle to do that. So I think, I'm pretty worried, generally speaking, about Guild. I don't really see what they're going to do from here. They announced yesterday evening that they are going to be raising another round of funding.
Okay.
Which they need to do because they need cash, but I just don't know who's going to want to invest in Guild at this point, to be fair.
Yeah, so in terms of like generating revenue then for like companies like Guild, how does that happen? Is it through kind of like investments and kind of like sponsorships and things?
Yeah, so sponsorships is the big one. That's like where the bulk of esports teams' revenue comes from. And if you compare esports to, say, like traditional sports have media rights revenue to lean on. So, for example, Sky Sports will pay the Premier League like 5 billion or whatever it is for 4 years to exclusively broadcast the Premier League. But in esports, you don't really have that, because you've got, Twitch and especially Twitch, but Twitch and YouTube, which are free platforms.
Yeah.
So the esports events are just broadcast on there. And the teams almost never, you don't really get any cut from that. There've been a couple of exclusive agreements. I think YouTube agreed a deal with Activision Blizzard to show their esports titles exclusively on the platform for the last couple of years. But from what certain journalists like Jacob Wolf have reported, like, they were not interested at all in renewing that. So it mustn't have gone very well. I think, generally speaking, so that's a big chunk of revenue that a traditional sports team would have access to, but in esports, you just don't really have that yet. I suppose the teams that are doing the best in terms of revenue, which again, like, a lot of insiders know this, that almost no esports team is profitable.
Yeah.
And I think the ones that are even close to being profitable are the ones that are diversifying their income, their income stream. So you've got like Team Liquid doing white label production services. You've got TSM, which owns Blitz, which is, I believe it's like a League of Legends training platform that's really well monetized. So yeah, I mean, teams are struggling, to be fair, to make money.
I think so, yeah, and it does seem to be a nationwide kind of thing as well, with different teams and things like that. It is kind of like different ways of people making money and things like that. But I mean, the company saw quite a few leadership changes in 2022. Do you think that maybe affected it a little bit? Because obviously when you change leadership, you almost change a bit of a strategy, because everyone has their own strategy, don't they, when they're taking the helm of a company. So do you think that maybe affected Guild at all?
Yeah, I think it did. I think there's a lot that's gone on at Guild that isn't public. I think there's been so many staff members from, like you said, senior staff members. They've lost or let go of several board members and executive, team leaders and that sort of thing. But in addition to that, you've got entry-level employees and kind of mid-managers and all that. So basically, at every stage of the company, there have been employees that have either been let go, which Guild says they've let go of a bunch, and that's true, but they've also been a ton that have left of their own volition. And I don't believe a lot of them just haven't been replaced, because if you look at like the size of the workforce then, say about a year ago to now, I mean, it's just so much different. So yeah, I think there have been a lot of problems at the company. There's a lot of people have had issues with certain managers at the company and chose to leave as a result. And so I think, yeah, the constant leadership changes will definitely have impacted it. But I also think some of the leaders that were in place, they weren't very good for the company. So it's probably good that they've gone.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of work it out as these things go, but you have to kind of have people in that position to know who works and who doesn't quite work going forward and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, what do you think the future holds for Guild then? I mean, what do you think? I mean, you said like they're optimistic for this year, but I mean, I suppose we don't really know, do we?
Yeah, future for Guild. I mean, I guess first step is to see how the fundraise goes, because like I said, they announced that. So they released a revised annual report. I think it was just under 12 hours after the initial one yesterday morning, which I think is like 7 a.m. They released another report at about 6 p.m., I think, basically confirming that they're going to be raising another round of funding. So that's the next step, I suppose, to see how that goes. But like I said before, I don't know who's investing in Guild at the minute. With 85% knocked share price, you've got, they've cut a bunch of costs, like I said, which they needed to do. But then again, if your aim is to be, one of the top 3 orgs in Europe, but you're releasing all of your content creators that enable you greater reach and give you that bigger audience to say to sponsors, look, we have this audience of however many millions. If you've cut that, then where's the appeal? So we're not becoming a top esports team. We don't really have the money. Our share price is tanked. Like you're asking me personally, I just think I really don't know where they go from here, because like I said, who's investing in that company? I think there will be takers, I think, but I mean, we'll see. I'm not optimistic, I'll say that.
It's interesting. Billy, that is totally right. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it, where you can't tell. I mean, these things are such a roller coaster as well, and especially within the esports company, it is such a roller coaster. But Billy, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Honestly, your insight's been amazing as well, and I think you've kind of delved into the story better than I could. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.